There's nothing more common in the video game industry than a very particular genre of video games.
Think yourself clever, do you? Painless, yes? Now, get out of my sight! You halt! You low-born cur!
Or, well, there are tons of other very common, or even more common, video game genres, but we're going to be ignoring all of those to focus on one in particular. On Steam, if you go to the library and search the user tags, you can see that there are 588 titles listed under the survival game genre. So, why am I making this video? Because they suck. Or at least, after hundreds of hours playing them, they suck. Survival games aren't original anymore, because it's hard to make an original idea off of surviving some kind of catastrophic or life-threatening event that forces the player to have to turn sticks and stones into a freaking mansion. Minecraft, I'm looking at you. Now, games like Subnautica and Terraria stretch the limits of the genre, sure. But the survival games category is flooded with Minecraft and DayZ wannabes when those two games themselves are lacking in long-lasting content. Don't get me wrong, I've been playing and enjoying Minecraft since beta 1.7 released, around like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And I've probably put upwards of around 1,000 hours plus into the game. But since then I've been entirely burnt out, because I already know how survival games work, and especially how Minecraft works. Because of that, I can't really get immersed into the game anymore, as although the worlds are all different and you can build whatever you want and the sky's the limit, you must follow the same basic steps to do the same things over and over, and so you inevitably die to some stupid reason or quit entirely from the lack of features beyond dig this, find that, build this, or kill this. Mods make the game feel more fresh, or modifications for those of you who don't know what mods are. But a lot of them require some kind of learning curve that deters me. Not because I can't learn it, but because I don't feel like learning it. It's not mandatory for gameplay, and you aren't forced to do anything using the mods, which is why, in my opinion, Minecraft is doled out. You have games like, not games, but mods like Tekkit or Attack of the B Team, which they have all these cool features and stuff, but you don't have to do any of them, which I guess is the kind of beauty of it, but at the same time it's meaningless for me. It's overplayed for me, and not much can be done to revitalize that unless Mojang releases such a massive update to the game that basically completely blows my mind. Like if they added a new game mode beyond survival and creative, something like a challenge mode, where the player is forced to complete difficult challenges that only people who have a ton of experience playing the game can actually finish it. For instance, like in Shovel Knight, which isn't a survival game, this is just a little bit off topic here, but Shovel Knight has some pretty difficult challenges that I think Minecraft can take an example of, and other survival games too. We do have map makers for a reason, but an official third game mode that doesn't require external downloading or risk for viruses, which are a lower risk nowadays, but it's still there. Those kind of things can add a spark back to the game that will eventually turn into a massive fire. And what I see right now, survival games are only getting more and more repetitive and boring the longer you play it. Survival games are only fun when you can discover something new and exciting. And once you figure out how everything works in one game, you can pretty much figure it out in the rest. I have another bone to pick with the design of DayZ. I never got the chance to play it in its prime when it was a mod for Arma 2, partially due to my computer not being able to handle Arma no matter what I did to it. So I bought the standalone game, and boy was that a mistake. My first experience in DayZ, I was spawn killed by a guy wearing practically nothing by punching me in the face while I tried to figure out the goddamn controls beyond moving. I managed to learn how to raise my fists up before he clobbered me to death. And after that, I switched servers to try and find a more empty one so I could actually figure out how to play the game since there was no tutorial. And the learning curve there was boring to me, so I got quickly bored of it. The only fun I had out of it was not the gameplay itself, but from trying to find my freaking friend who was across the damn map And by the time we reached the middle to meet up, he was killed suddenly, and I died of starvation despite both of us preparing for the long haul. I'm not sure where DayZ is now in development, but I'm pretty sure it's not any different, given how much it's become practically a meme in the past year or two. A game of such high potential literally shot itself in the foot over small additions, like adding guns over fixing the goddamn AI, and other serious glitches too. I don't know what everyone else has experienced, but I'm sure there are a ton of issues going on. Now, on the topic of Starbound, Starbound is a cool little space exploration survival game. It has the player follow the story of a lone survivor of their home planet, destroyed by a tentacle monster you might find in a particular part of the internet I won't be talking about here. It reminds me of Mass Effect in many ways, minus the intense story and side stories, as well as the epic character development. Liara is still my waifu, goddammit. But the basic equation is still there. As is in Terraria and Subnautica, in every single survival game, you have a crafting system that requires you to go to harvest some kind of material so you can make some kind of basic tool that will allow you to get more materials to make another tool slightly less basic but equally as effective as before. Incremental progress that you can physically feel, but not in a good way. Add to that how many survival games out there have waiting times for such crafting recipes. Crafting recipes. Crafting. Crafting.
Crafting.
Recipes. I formally apologize for any damage to your brain cells I just caused. Add to that how many survival games out there have waiting times for such crafting recipes. Some taking anywhere from instantaneous like Minecraft to a game like The Long Dark, which has some crafting recipes of 25 hours in-game, with a real-life to game world timescale of 1 minute in-game being equal to 3 seconds in real life. Doing some basic calculations, I determined the value to be around 37.5 minutes of waiting in real life to complete that particular crafting recipe in the game. Unless you skip the time somehow, maybe by sleeping or other methods that I'm not too sure about. I would have to be corrected there and stuff. But if you were just to physically sit there in a particular room crafting that one item, you would actually literally have to spend more than half an hour just waiting for that crafting recipe to be completed. There are probably some other examples of even longer crafting recipes. I hope not. I hope no one actually waited long for a crafting recipe. I think you get the point. Essentially, survival games get close to, but never truly establish something completely different from the formula of a generic survival game. Nor do I ever really see that as changing, as that's how genres work. But spicing up the old formulas for games is how someone can make something truly special. Take a look at Subnautica, for instance. It's a new twist to the survival genre, where instead of landing on an island or crashing into a forest while riding a plane, example being Stranded Deep, or the forest, you're part of a crew on board a massive spaceship that, due to some kind of damage or malfunction, you crash land on the planet you happen to be observing, which kills all of your crew members except for you. This planet is an ocean planet filled with alien creatures and a deadly variety of them. But it still has that consistent formula. resources, mining, mindless work that has no true meaning beyond extending your character's lifespan a day or so. And having a respawn system so you don't need to worry about taking care of yourself ruins the experience of surviving. What's the point in surviving in a game if when you fail at surviving and die, you can just respawn and keep going? This is why hardcore modes exist, but it should be mandatory at least in some of these games. Also, as a side note, when games like Minecraft and Subnautica give me the option of creative mode, where I can try out all the cool little features I would normally have to spend hours of hard work to get in the survival mode, that kills the game for me. It's an option, sure, and I don't have to activate it, but it's tempting, and I usually go with my temptations in video games, which is why in my Battlefield 1 video I just released, it resulted in me charging into an entire group of enemy soldiers, although they were AIs, unaware of the number of them until it was too late to go back while I was on hard mode. I'm not saying survival games should be put off the market or anything, as I don't have any right to say such things. I'm just a gamer, and I have no clue how difficult it truly is to completely design and build a new fresh concept on the gaming market. I am saying, however, that I would be much more inclined to spend a few extra bucks towards games that make me feel interested in actually playing them for extensive periods of time, even after I discover what makes the game tick. If Minecraft got more interesting and difficult, maybe an automatic hardcore mode feature that switches on after a certain point in the game is reached or something, I'd be more willing to spend even more time on it. I guess the point here is that survival games are repetitive and redundant now. They're all the same game with slightly different features and starting points and reskinned maps. It's like Call of Duty, but instead of a game series, an entire genre of games. Don't spend time killing creativity just to make it similar to other games to allow other players to easily sink their teeth into it. If I wanted something catered to everyone, I wouldn't have invested in a gaming PC. Instead, I would be more content with some crap like Candy Crush or Angry Birds or whatever else mobile gamers play. And yes, mobile gamers are gamers too, you circle jerkers.